Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Realtor listeners. Today we have James. He helps people buy and sell franchises. Purchasing. We had someone similar in this group before. We've had other people help you sell businesses before. But I mean, I think especially for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? You build a business, and one of the key takeaways is you go, "Oh, my property is worth X amount." And you're like, "Oh, actually, it's kind of not." So just kind of taking away from what James kind of looks into on buying stuff, and we'll hear about his journey. Also, before we get to James, just wanted to throw out there, we do have a sponsor. Melody Cloud is in the show notes. If you're looking for some relaxation, go in the show notes, get Melody Cloud. If you need any kind of Southern California real estate, give the Enriquez Group a call. All right, James. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So walk us through kind of what you do.
Well, what I do is I work with athletes and professionals that are out there, or basically anyone who's got that entrepreneur spirit, who's looking to get started and find a business. So I deal with franchise businesses. So what I do is I will listen to the goals of the person, be it, if they want an owner operator model, investment level. Then we go over different industries that are out there. There's tons of them out there. And I will present them and find a match for them and introduce them to the franchisor. And then what I do is I stay with them during the whole time to make sure it's a good business match with the franchisor, meaning vetting that the franchisor is going to be a great business partner. And then also what are the franchisees that are in the system going to say? So I help clients of, let's do this investigation together. And I help them along their way to a journey just to make sure that it's a great fit for them.
So walking into this space, because I mean, again, we have a lot of people that kind of start from the ground up. I mean, most of those franchises kind of have some kind of roadmap, I guess, right, to how to have a productive business. Is there kind of like a ballpark number of what you need to kind of get going, or what's the variance, I guess?
Well, the variance is really if you have 50,000 of liquid cash, we can usually find you something. It could be either 100K, 200, 300. So there are different variances. It does depend on the industry to kind of help find that match for them for sure. And then as you were saying, like when I work with athletes, what I do tell them is, a franchise business, and for anybody really, is a great business because what they do is they give you a playbook. So an athlete and business people have been following a playbook all their lives. So what the franchisor is doing is they're providing that playbook so you can follow it, and the chances are you're going to be much more successful because you're going to not only have that playbook from them, you're going to have support from the beginning, opening, all the way up to ongoing support, as well as you're going to have a network of franchisees that help you as well.
What and we're in 2024, but what for $50,000? What kind of franchise are you kind of talking about?
So with 50,000 liquid cash, you could look at you can look into the vending route. Just if you have 50,000, if you have 50,000 and you have good enough credit to get into where you can get up to the $200,000 range, you're looking at dog grooming business. You're looking into you could do upholstery reappliance. Then there's a lot of the home service networks where you could do as far as you could do mobile screening, you could do windows, you could do power washing of homes, gutter cleaning, a lawn service, lawn treatment. So there's a wide variety cast net of the home service market that works out really well with that, as well as you could, that could launch you into becoming a home inspector, which, you're very familiar with.
I mean, this is probably what, 15 years ago, 20 years ago now for me. But I remember talking to one individual. This is in the Bay Area, so that, the prices could probably fluctuate. But he was you're talking about roughly for McDonald's franchise, because you got to go to McDonald's University. It was like $1 million, something like that. And I'm assuming that number's kind of gone up pretty.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really got up, and really, my background was in the restaurant business, so I really, the restaurant business is one of the most expensive investment levels out there for anybody. There's always like, oh, I always want to own a restaurant. Well, you're talking at least 500K on up to a million or more to get into any type of restaurant situation. So it is one of the more lucrative investment levels, that's for sure.
Well, let's rewind. So you talked about restaurant business. I mean, did you grow up with your parents in the restaurant business? Were your parents entrepreneurs? I mean, who was young James growing up?
Yeah, so what I did, I was in the fine dining circuit. I was in a really old Victorian home that the entrepreneur turned into a restaurant. So I worked there for many years, learning back of the house, front of the house, just all the aspects of the restaurant business. Then I took that from going into fast quick service into a company called Del Taco, and I was in their operations and operational regional manager. And then from there, a company came out to me and said, "Hey, help us grow our franchise system. We have one store. We want to grow really fast." So I went over and helped them, and we went from one store up over to 100 stores. So I helped with franchisees by supporting them, opening their new stores, and then also going back and helping them support their operations after I'd done opening their new stores. And then the interesting fact was the largest franchisee of the company then came and said, "Hey, come work for us." And it happened to be owned by two NFL football players. And I said, "Absolutely." And so we did Pyologies. We did our own Bake Bear franchise. Then we did our own concept of a cookie dough restaurant, of a cookie dough concept. And then we had a coffee shop that we did as well. Then one of the brothers, he retired from the NFL, and then the other one got hurt, couldn't fulfill the rest of his contract. And then they went out and decided they were done with the restaurant business, and they went into the tequila business, which is a great business, don't get me wrong. But this was something I was like, I didn't really feel that I could do any, I could help them a great deal. And I decided to venture out on my own and start my own business of helping athletes and people find franchises. So I started to get into the franchise broker.
So are you able to say the players' names or no?
Oh, they were very famous in Southern California, the Khalil brothers.
Oh, okay. So they reached out to you. They were still playing at the time.
Yes.
So I mean, for most, I'm guessing during season, I mean, it's probably hard for them to do a lot of the stuff. So were you helping them out like during season more so, or the off season? That's kind of when a lot of the movement was happening, opening more franchises. Or what was their what was the process, I guess, like for them?
Yeah, so the dad was involved, and he was with the day to day. So him and I, we did the operations, and so we were involved heavily in the operations, the day to day of the restaurant. During the season, yeah, we would hardly ever, we would hardly ever hear from them. But during the off season, they'd be involved and come in and check out the restaurants and want to know, how we're doing, how we can improve. Was there anything that we needed to do to help him? Do we want to expand more? Do we want to put some more money in this particular location? Or if this location's not doing well, what do we need to do? So they were very, very involved in the off season, but during the season, it was tougher for them to be involved.
Were you big into sports yourself?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I played minor league baseball in actually the Philadelphia Phillies organization, but sustained injury, and then basically had 1 year, quick 1 year in the minor league system, and then I got back into the restaurant business when I was done with that. But yeah, I was heavily into sports, and that was very intriguing to go work for them. And what really got me is when I started this business, I was like, I'm really going to focus on helping the athletes as much as I can, because I saw all the people that came up to them that had really crazy ideas and crazy investments that made no sense, which, they were just thinking they were made of this money, and they would just say yes. But they were very great business men, and they were, they knew how to say no, and a lot of their friends that did not, and it definitely didn't a lot of people that do some bad investments with pro athletes. That's for sure.
So what was, I mean, based off a timeline, right? So you're playing high school ball. Did you got drafted out of high school or college?
Out of high school, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in high school, are you working a part-time job in the restaurant industry, or are you planning, oh, I'm making it all the way to the pros?
No. I was working a part-time job in the restaurant industry while I was playing in high school. And then when I left to go to camp, then I just focused straight on baseball. But then when I came back, when I was hurt, the company took me back right away. And then I just jumped in full on into the restaurant because I knew at that time I tore my rotator cuff. And at that time, back when I was playing, there was only one big leaguer who had ever came back from that was Larry Heisel. And it was just, it wasn't going to be anything that I was going to be able to do the long rehab and make it back. So at that time, I just made the decision, hey, I'm going to put the baseball aside and just get in and, just start a career.
So was that hard to change your path when you got forced into kind of giving up what you, I guess, loved?
Oh yes, I mean it's so hard when the cheering stops. I mean that's the hardest thing. The cheering stops, and not only that, the hardest thing was not being in the locker room around all the guys and that camaraderie of the team. It was something inside of me that really was something that I missed. But what I found when I went back, to the restaurant and into the restaurant, I said, I may not have the opportunity to play again, but the restaurant is my team, and I am going to manage as like a field manager, and I'm going to manage my team as if I'm on a ball field. So I would constantly talk with my team members, get to know them, try to figure out what motivates them. Just like in sports, like some people have to be told they're awesome all the time, or some people have to say, hey, you know what, you really need to start getting more aggressive at the plate and swinging instead of taking so many pitches. So I use that philosophy into business, and so when I was just a general manager, that's how I managed. I managed as if I had a team. And then when I got onto where it's a district manager and into bigger operations, I used if I was a GM of an organization. So now I have all these managers. So I was a front office manager. So I really just coordinated the restaurant business into like a baseball organization and wound up being very successful of managing people that way. But that was my filler of missing sports. I had my team with me every time I went to work.
So were you, I mean, and I would assume a lot of people either they meet someone famous or, I mean, even famous, I guess, in the sports field, right? So when you got the opportunity to work with the brothers, were you, I mean, at that time, still a fanboy, or were you able to like separate it? I'm assuming you probably were able to separate it because you were in the minor leagues, and
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it was able to separate them. It's still like just fascinating of what they do, and they both were offensive linemen. So yeah, when you just look at them, they're just massive, just physical, just big men that are just amazing. And it was just like, wow. But at the end of the day, they're still human. And I always take back to one day, I did have a cousin who was he was actually on the PGA Tour golfer, and I was golfing with him, and I was just like, man, you just hit some great shots. And, I'm on the left side, the right side of the course, and I'm spraying it all over. And I just go, hey, you're just so good. He goes, James, this is my job. It's what I do. My job is golf. So yeah, I'm good at it. If you took me into a restaurant, I wouldn't know what I was doing, and you'd be saying the same thing about me. And it's at the end of the day, everyone is just a person, and you just get to know the person and peel the athlete part of, and just relate to them.
When you're starting your own business, you have, I mean, I guess you've been doing this for a little while, helping the brothers out, kind of expand their business.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think there would be more doors open when you have a name attached to it, right? Compared to when there's not a name attached to it. Was that any kind of issue when you started your own brand without them attached to you, I guess?
It was very scary in a way of kind of going off on my own But it was just one of those things that I knew I had to get out there and network and find athlete clients. The brothers would give me some people that they had that might be interested of being an entrepreneur, so then it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do and to drum up clients? And so that was very scary, what to do and how to do that and to find clients and to be out my own. So now I am, the marketing person, the operations person, I'm everything. So it was a little bit of a transition, and just to be honest, was a little bit of fearful, but I'm just so happy that I took the step and did that for sure.
So what did you do? I mean, you said that the brothers basically connect you to some possible people to kind of make those connections. Was that simply, hey, I'm going on my own, I appreciate what you did for me. Do you have anyone else that you think would be a good fit for me to help out? Was it kind of a simple conversation like that?
Correct. Yeah, just simple conversation like that, and then then it was like, okay, how am I going to? Because look, I want to help everyone, so I want to help the professionals. But how do you get to that athlete side of hitting it? Because you're not going to find them in email or anywhere like that. So my goal was to hit some celebrity golf tournaments and golf and meet some guys that are out there via LinkedIn, meet some athletes there. So I just started diving into that and was able to make some connections to get some athletic clients, and then just getting the other professionals that are looking to quit their corporate job. I was able to get them through different lead portals and advertising of do you want to own your own franchise, and just get them through lead portals. So it wound up being a pretty good system of, hey, I got one on my lead portals, and then I'm going out and talking with the athletes with golf tournaments, or anytime I can speak in front of anybody, players association or whatever. I try to do that as well.
Well, so the golf tournaments are kind of interesting. I mean, I was talking to someone actually recently about this, and this is like I was unaware of it. Maybe people listening were like, "Oh my gosh, how are you unaware of this?" But there's platforms where you or entities you pay to be associated with those golf tournaments, and it's something like $10,000, at least what the most recent one was. Wow. To be in front of each professional celebrity, and you give them something of value when you meet with them.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty darn cool.
That's so awesome. Was it for you? I mean, was there a fee associated with being part of these events, or what was kind of the give and take? Was it simply just the nature of you knowing the people to put you into the spots?
Just basically being able to pay to get into the tournament, and then the networking event. So most golf tournaments typically will have a networking event the night before where they'll draw the foursomes and you see who you get paired with. And then afterwards, there's a either awards banquet or after banquet, and it's there where you after a day out on the golf course, you're collaborating with everyone, and just it just comes up in conversation. Hey, what do you do? And it's just a great way to network, and that's kind of how that's how that pays off on that realm for sure.
Was the cost associated with paying for the golf events, was it something that was really affecting your pocketbook, or was it not too bad? You had enough money saved. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how far you had to jump off the ship.
Not too bad. Nothing in the $10,000 range.
Okay.
But you're talking, you get into a golf tournament, 200 to 500.
Okay.
Yeah. So most tournaments are 200 to 500, and some are 800. But it's just that opportunity to network with athletes is great. Just so it's well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a great avenue of marketing, right? $200, I mean, $500 like that, not too bad. Now, when did you know you actually made the right decision? Because I'm guessing it wasn't right when you made the jump. There's probably a couple clients you got after the brothers that you're like, okay, this is probably the right decision that I made.
So there were really twofold. So one was I just met a former NFL guy, and he was out and he wanted to search for a franchise. So we spent, I would say, 3-4 months looking at different franchises and talking with different people. And he actually owned a wine business, and he just called up, said, I'm getting frustrated. I think I'm just going to stick with my wine business, and that's what I want to do. I said, hey, no problem. I get it. No worries. We'll stay in touch. And 2 days later, he calls me and goes, you know what? This is really what I want. I want a business that is going to help people with mental health issues. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that helps with addiction, mental health, find that franchise for me. So I did some research. I didn't actually have it in my network of franchises because I typically have at the touch of my fingers, I can look up about 500-600 franchises that I could tell you are good or not. And so I went out and searched and found this one franchise, kind of vetted it for him. And we got to talking with them. And he actually wound up signing. And he said, James, my goal is to put one of these in every NFL city. And so that was like, not only do I feel good that I helped this former athlete and get him into something that he really wants and he's passionate about. So that was one thing. And then I just had a professional guy that had been in the corporate grind for, 15, 20 years. And he just kind of had it. And he just like, hey, help me find a franchise. I only have a couple $100,000 to invest. And I'm like, well, that's plenty to make a really good movie. Let's see what's out there. So I showed him everything that was out there and what he wanted to transition into. And he picked a dog grooming business, which, he was great success because he got his money back within the first 6 months. He was already even. And he was just not only that he was able to get out of the corporate world, but that he was able to go, James, I have my own life. I can make all my kids' sports events. I can do what I want to do, and it's my time, and I enjoy what I'm doing, and it's for me. So it's all just, not only is it helping match people to business, but it's making a difference in their lives. And that's kind of the aha moment. Like, I'm doing the right thing here. I'm helping people out. And I love what I do. I really do.
Something that, I was talking to someone that does a decent amount of business with professional athletes, right? And we were kind of just kind of brainstorming. And one of the things that they brought up was most of these athletes like to be anonymous, right? And not really have their face out there too much. So for yourself, what have you learned to kind of balance out, I guess, the leverage of having a good client, right? That has a name associated with it, but also the respect of basically people, I guess, not knowing it without his permission of how to leverage it. Where have you seen that line, I guess?
Right. So that's a great line. So really, the brothers, I grew up with them. I was in business with them. So I tell you their names, but any other sports client, I will never divulge their name.
Gotcha.
Just because it's just confidentiality of, don't want them to know what they're doing. It's exciting when I tell a franchisor about, hey, I have this was a former NFL player, Major League Baseball player, or current Major League Baseball player, current NFL player that they're looking at. And they get so excited. And what their turn is when they get these athletes, I always tell the athlete, you're in a great position right now if you want to get into this franchise because they want you involved in this. And maybe let's cut a deal and maybe let's get the, some of your fees reduced, in turn using your likeness to do some advertisement for your franchise that you're involved with anyways. And it really is a win-win. But I don't really divulge any of what they go into or them by name for sure. But it is tough. Sometimes, like you want to go, I work with this person, but
it's probably a nice feather in your cap, right? To say, oh, I work with so and so or whatever, whoever it might be. And I'm guessing, like you said, the only time that you really bring up their name to the public is if they agree to use their likeness for the franchise to reduce their fees, their costs.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So if we were talking in 5 years from now, where do you see, I guess, the franchise model going? Where do you see basically yourself going? Where do you see the kind of future of all this going?
Yeah, that's a great question. So 5 years from now, I'm hoping that I am still doing this and finding great franchises that the chatbot has not replaced me. But that's kind of a joke. But because you don't get that personal touch by a person. But 5 years from now, I see myself, helping not only athletes but professionals still getting into and getting into entrepreneurship and helping them and just having my business grow and maybe even having 2 or 3 different people under myself at that point of growing and just having a bigger network of people that we use. And the longer we're in business, the more people we'll have that we've talked to that will come back going, hey, I talked to you a year ago, and now I'm ready to get into, look into what businesses are out there that might work for me. So it's just, every year has been growth. So I could just look at 5 more years continuing to grow and continuing to help people, because that's kind of what it's all about.
When you break down an opportunity, I guess, for a franchise, is there is there a particular model that's strictly off the numbers for previous franchises? Is it how much support the franchise give it, how long they've been around for? I mean, I'm assuming all this plays a factor, but there's something that kind of goes in when you look at a franchise opportunity.
When I look at a franchise opportunity, I'm looking for the client. So each client's different. So
Okay.
One client may be, hey, I like this industry, but hey, I am open to hearing different options. They might say, hey, I want into the dry cleaning business. I'm like, well, okay, are you open to different options? Yes. And then what I would do is I bring up strong margins like dog grooming. The dog grooming is a reoccurring revenue model that is just like the gym model, $45 a month to groom your dog. So you're going to beat your competition, and then you have that reoccurring revenue stream, and then the margins are like 40%. And I probably could, if you're very successful in doing this, you probably could have your money back, within the first year. Would that be something you want to take a look at, as long as it fits, owner operator, passive model, and investment level? So I will make some suggestions like that if they're open to that. If they're just like, no, I just want a dry cleaners, the business, I'll find them the best dry cleaning fit for them in the area that they're in. And that's where we're going. So it's all basically kind of client driven, and I will steer them if they want to be steered into some different directions. There's oftentimes I get a lot of people to just show me high margin franchises. And I'll just show them some different high margin franchise in many different industries.
So let's say I owned an entity. Let's say I own Jack in the Box like that, right? And
Yep.
I'm looking to open up more franchises.
Yep.
Right. Am I reducing the cost to open up a franchise, or is it consistently across the board? This is the cost to open the franchise, and then for you get a client that basically is saying, hey, I'm looking for a fast food place. And you go, okay, well, currently they're open, they're looking. Here's the opportunities. Or what's that kind of look like from more on the I guess the macro level?
Yeah. So if someone's looking, like if it was a Jack in the Box, if it was a Jack in the Box franchisee, say it was that was looking to get into something else, that would sometimes Jack in the Box, they might have where non-compete where they can't go get a different franchise in the restaurant fast food space. So then it would be like, okay, hey, we can get into the ice cream sector. Here's what we got in the ice cream place. If they don't have that, where they can own another fast food, we'll look at different models. As I always think, yes, it's great if you already have 20 Jack in the Boxes, maybe you want to get 20 more. But I would say, hey, let's diversify that portfolio and let's look at maybe something different. And I would say, how tough it is to run a restaurant, right? Let's find something that takes a little less employees, and let's get even higher margins in a different franchise if you're open to it.
Well, I mean, more so, I guess the company at large. Like, for example, like to correlate to real estate, right? Like, I have individuals that are looking to buy properties to live in, right? And so we're finding the things, and we're looking in the market and finding what's work for them. Then we have other people that are kind of sitting on the fence, investors, right? That, hey, if you find an opportunity that meets my numbers, right, then I'm going to buy it, right? So for your scenario, it sounds like for the most part, it's more like the first one. The individual is like, hey, there's so many opportunities out there. We can find something that works for you, and not necessarily the second one where it's like, okay, you're sitting on the fence until I find the opportunity, and it might be basically a month from now, 2 months from now. Correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It's more like the first model. You do tend to sometimes get the investor model of like, hey, when the numbers are right. Well, in franchise world, the numbers really don't change. I mean,
Gotcha.
the opportunities are opportunities. It's never, they're not going to drop their price, or it's not going to fluctuate with the market. That investment level is going to stay there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here, James. If someone's listening and they're looking to open up a franchise, what's the best way of them reaching out to you?
Yeah, my website's thefrandream.com. It could be right on there. There's a form they could fill out. They could actually take a free business assessment on there. So to do that, I'll capture your information, and or you could shoot me a email at james@thefrandream.com.
Gotcha. And I'm going to finish up. And for everyone listening, please go in the show notes, go find James. I mean, I've done some times where, pull up, back in the day, you pull up those magazines and you look at all the different franchise prices and kind of curious of what's possible. There's so many opportunities out there. It's going to be so much easier just talking to a broker, making your life a little easier. So just go in the show notes if you do have an inkling or a want to look in that space. Before I finish off, one last question. You talked about basically chat GPT, AI, that kind of stuff. It's probably an ongoing thing on this podcast because it's such an intriguing platform. Do you foresee any kind of like AI really touching your space? Because I would think it'd be harder unless maybe there's some sort of application that you filled out and then maybe it could do some kind of algorithm to kind of figure out. But that seems like it's going to be a little ways away before something like that would happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there might be an application you could fill out, and AI could come up with some things, but it's never going to do the vast net and the knowledge, firsthand knowledge of, hey, oh, you want something with a margin that's this? I can find you that. I don't think AI will be able to do that, but it may be able to give someone just generalizations, which sometimes could be good or bad, because sometimes those generalizations are not always accurate.
Well, again, thank you, James, for being here. Hopefully everyone got some great information. Remember, go in the show notes for Melody Cloud. If you need any Southern California real estate, go in the show notes for the Enriquez Group. Thank you again, James. Please subscribe, everyone. Please share and go find James.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Bye, guys.